Hello, good afternoon, and a very warm welcome indeed to this afternoon's iOB business webinar. It's a real pleasure to have you on here with us. And if this is your first time joining us, I'd like to take a moment to talk you through exactly how these work. So these are business-oriented presentations related to digital marketing. Now, specifically, what we're going to be talking about today is balancing your full-time job and a part-time digital agency effectively. Okay. The reason being, we get this question a lot. Okay. How can I take on a digital agency? Or if you already have one, how can I balance it effectively alongside my full-time job? Okay. So if you haven't met me before, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Ben, and I'm the resident business coach here at iOB Business. Okay. So what we're going to be talking about today details lots of information that you are going to value when it comes to balancing your time effectively. Okay, so the way this webinar is going to run today, we do a brief introduction as we are just now with myself, and then we're going to dive into a presentation. Presentation is going to run for around about 15 to 20 minutes or so, and then we're going to take a little Q&A at the end. Okay, so the Q&As usually run for about 5 minutes or so, and it's important that you get to ask any questions that you might have for me related to business, digital marketing, or today's presentation. So without further ado, just give me one moment. I'm going to go ahead and get us set up here. Now, the final piece that I have to share with you for today is that if you do have any questions for me, I will be taking a brief pause in between each topic. So there are 3 topics we're going to cover today. We're going to spend a good amount of time on each one. And after each one, I'm going to pause for, around about 15 to 30 seconds or so, just to give you an opportunity to take down any notes and ask any questions that you may have. So please do make sure that you have a notepad ready so that you do not miss out on any information that we have to share with you today. Okay, so I'm just going to bring up the presentation on screen, and you should be able to see that just now. The technology is working all very smoothly today, which is always fantastic. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and switch off my camera. Okay, so you should still be able to see the presentation on screen, and you should still be able to hear my voice, and that means we can get started. So if you wouldn't mind, just let me know in the chat box if you can hear my voice okay and that you can see the screen okay. All right, fantastic. So it looks like we're good to get going then on today's presentation. Okay, so for those of you just joining us now, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome, welcome. Once again, my name is Ben, and I am your presenter today. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about is balancing your time effectively with a part-time digital agency. Now, as we just discussed, this is something that we get asked so often because it's so important to people how they manage their agency and how they manage their time. Okay, because your new venture, of course, has a special place in your heart, a special place in your future business ventures, and you want to know how you can maximize this opportunity. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk this through with you now. So this is relevant to you if you are thinking about taking on a part-time digital agency, if you're currently managing one, or you've been doing it for a while, you're still balancing your job and you're still balancing your agency. Okay, so this is applicable to everyone. And what we're doing today is we're answering one of the most commonly asked questions that we get when it comes to running digital agencies. Okay, so once again, your presenter today is myself. My name is Ben. I'm a professional business coach, and I specialize in working with small businesses to help them achieve stability and growth. Okay, it's one of the most important things for young and small businesses that they do achieve that stability pattern so that we can focus on growth. Okay, now this is largely what we're going to be talking about today in the context of digital agencies. Okay, so once again, you are more than welcome to ask any questions throughout today's presentation. So 3 things we're going to talk about today. Number 1, we're going to discuss setting boundaries for yourself and for your clients. This is a big one. Okay, now it's something that if we don't instill early on in the business can really begin to affect you later down the line. Number 2, we're going to talk about being realistic with your commitments. Okay, we're going to cover what that means when we get there. And finally, we're going to be talking about monitoring your earnings. This is something that is so important and so often missed. Okay, so we're going to make sure that we don't miss that today, and we're going to cover it with you in today's presentation. So let's kick things off with topic number 1 then for today. Okay, setting boundaries for yourself and your clients. First point I have to share with you, your time management skills are your most crucial asset. Okay, so specifically in the context of balancing your digital agency with your business, okay, or with your job, whatever it is that you're doing at the moment, your time management skills are going to be your most crucial asset. We need to be able to manage many components. We need to be able to take phone calls. We need to be able to hold meetings. We need to be able to email back and forth. We need to have strong personal and business routines so that we make sure everything is getting done. Okay, so when we talk about time management, it doesn't just mean being on time somewhere. It means understanding how long you should spend on a certain task or project or meeting, making sure that you're adhering to these timeframes. In addition to that, you need to make sure that you're scheduling out each day. Okay, each day should have a specific plan. When you wake up in the morning, you know exactly what you're going to hit that day. You're going to get it all done, and you're going to get it done well. Okay, so that's what good time management means in a nutshell. And remember, it is a crucial asset to own. Okay, next, you must maintain focus on both your 9 to 5 and your new digital agency. Okay, so I reference the 9 to 5 here because we're specifically talking about balancing a part-time digital agency with your job. Okay, so 9 to 5, it's a vague term. Broadly, what it means is we're looking at your day job. Okay, so it might not necessarily mean 9 to 5 in the working hours. It could be, for example, an engineering role where sometimes you work nights. You could be working in hospitality when your schedule can be very, very sporadic. You could work in retail where you have to work till 8, 9 p.m. at night. Okay, but the salient point I want you to take home here is that if you have hours in the morning, work on your agency in the morning. If you have hours in the evening, work hours in the evening. If you have afternoons free or days off, take that time to get as much done as you can, okay? Now, rest and relax time is important, but I must reiterate, if you work hard now to get your digital agency off the ground and flowing well, you can reap the rewards further down the line, okay? So this is something that's important to bear in mind. We might have to put in a little bit of extra work now so that we can enjoy the realization time down the line, okay? Now, clients must know when they can expect meetings and contact, okay? This is something that I absolutely have to share with you when it comes to client communication and client management. If they do not know when they can next expect to hear from you, even vaguely, or when you're next having a meeting, it begins to cause difficulties in their working relationship with you. Okay, now they will possibly be of the understanding that you're a part-time worker in the digital agency. It's not something you're doing full-time yet, therefore you're not available around the clock. That's why it's even more important that you're making sure to set time aside to speak with these individuals, okay? They must know what's going on if you want a healthy working relationship, okay? So don't run into any negative contact. Don't have to deal with any awkward or confrontational emails about meetings or, meetings missed or, lack of contact. Okay, you can avoid all of that by simply ensuring that your clients know when they can hear from you or when they expect to see you next. Okay, now here's a kind of side tip, okay, almost like a golden nugget, and this is going to save you an immense amount of time. Okay, now the go-to in many industries across the business world is meetings. Okay, whenever we want to translate or communicate a certain message, it always has to come in the form of a meeting. Now, this is a cliche, and it's not something that I necessarily agree with, okay? Yet it is, for some reason, an industry standard that we like to have meetings, okay? We, as humans, love to speak to other humans, okay? And I completely understand this. However, at this point in time, you're working at least 8 hours a day, let's say, on your day job, and you're also working several hours on your digital agency. Your time is precious, okay? You need time with your family, you need time with your friends, you need time to relax, switch off, okay? So if you're having meeting after meeting after meeting, you're going to begin to burn out and you're going to not enjoy what you do, okay? You're not going to enjoy the fact that you have to wake up early to go to your day job, and you're going to feel like it's strenuous meeting with clients after, okay? Now, this information comes from the source. We're speaking from experience. We're speaking with people we worked with before, okay? When we're looking at encouraging conversation in written form to help you save time, it is completely relevant when you are working round the clock. Okay, now when I say round the clock, what I mean is you're working 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day to get done what you need to get done. Okay, so be aware of your time management, make sure that you're getting a proper night's sleep. And in order to do all of that, you're going to have to make sure that you're trying to communicate with clients in other ways. Okay, if you commit to a meeting, then you have to prepare for the meeting, you have to sit through the duration of the meeting, potentially even meet them in person. All of this takes colossal amounts of time versus sending a simple email. If a client has a brief question, they don't need to set up a meeting to talk with you about it. They can send you a voice note, they can send you an email, they can text you, whatever preferred contact form you have. Try and make sure you're utilizing it with clients. Okay, so we're going to continuing the discussion of setting boundaries for yourself and your clients. Okay, and this important side note here is that, look, if you're someone who doesn't love picking up the phone, you don't love texting back and forth when it comes to work, then make sure that you don't proactively do that with your clients, okay? If your client texts you, then send them an email back. This is the easiest and most polite way to reiterate, actually, I'd really rather we kept work communication in the email field, okay? Now, some people do this because they like their phone to be for personal use only. They like to have personal communications on it, and therefore they don't want to impede it with any work stuff, okay? And understand, vice versa. It's important that clients can understand this and that they don't try and contact you throughout the methods that you don't like. Now, additionally, it's important to note that some people do love speaking over the phone. Some people wouldn't have it any other way. Some people like casual texting back and forth. Okay, it's up to you, but make sure that whichever way you prefer this, that contact method is instilled from the beginning and you don't accidentally encourage the wrong behavior. Because if you're phoning your clients because you need something quick and you think, oh, it'll just be quicker than an email, then potentially you're then encouraging and reinforcing the behavior that actually calling each other is fine because I just did it to you. So why would you not do it back to me? Okay, so emails over meetings if you can. All right, now that also applies to text, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, however you like to chat with your clients. I would advise email because it's the most structured and straightforward form of communication. All right, so as always, we're going to take a brief pause here now for about 10, 20 seconds or so. Please go ahead, ask any questions that you have for me, and we will be right back with you very shortly. All right, fantastic. So hopefully you've had a good chance now to ask any questions that you needed to ask and take any notes that you needed to take as well. All right, so now we're moving on with topic number 2. Being realistic with your time commitments. Okay, now this is a huge one because we need to understand when we overcommit, we then start to stretch ourselves thin. This runs a risk of burnout. It runs a risk of negativity, toxic energy. We're not too happy in this situation if we are overcommitting and pulling ourselves too thin. So what we're going to talk about now is being realistic with your commitments. Okay, so beginning with point number 1. High pressure can quickly become your enemy, okay? Now, you always find in this circumstance that there are two sides of the coin, all right? Some people love high pressure environments. Some people thrive on it. Others start to collapse under high pressure, okay? It depends on how you enjoy working. Now, my advice as a business coach, high pressure is not always a good thing, okay? If you've already got enough pressure in your day job, you're then carrying that pressure into your digital agency, you're going to feel an immense weight on your shoulders. It may affect your sleep. It may affect your personal behavioral patterns. You may find it more difficult to be happy and productive, okay? So high pressure can quickly become your enemy because at the beginning, you'll be thinking, perfect, let's do this, okay? I love high pressure. I love thriving in these environments. But each day that goes by, each week and month that goes by, if you're piling and piling and piling on, you're going to begin to feel that weight eventually, whether it's today, whether it's a month from today, okay? So high pressure can be avoided. I'm going to tell you how, okay? If you overcommit, you will become distracted with planning your work at the wrong time, all right? So this applies to high pressure. It applies to overcommitment. Now, interestingly enough, the reason I say this is because imagine you are at your day job and you have a big client project or you have a meeting coming up with a client. You're supposed to be focusing on the task that you have in hand at work. But instead, your brain is focused on what you should say at the meeting directly after work, okay? And potentially the second, third, fourth, fifth meeting you book for that evening. If you overcommit, you will become distracted, okay? When you commit to a reasonable amount and you're fully aware of how much you can do, overthinking and becoming distracted is not an issue, specifically because you're comfortable and you know you could do it with your eyes closed. Therefore, why would you be distracted? Why would you be overthinking? Okay, so it's important to understand the psychological components when it comes to planning your time and when it comes to how we think and how we generate work. Okay, so if you overcommit, you'll become distracted with planning your work at the wrong time. Okay, you might be planning what you're going to say in a client meeting whilst you're supposed to be focusing on something at work. Okay, now this isn't a forecast, this isn't an approximation, this isn't a guess, this is factual. If you begin to overwork yourself, you will begin thinking about said work when you shouldn't be. Okay, so until you are full-time on your digital agency, please make sure that you're keeping your commitments at a reasonable amount. Okay, this is completely benevolent advice for you to ensure that you're managing your time effectively and well. Okay, now, side note, overcommitting and under-delivering can result in disgruntled clients. Okay, now what do they always say? Undercommit, over-deliver. Okay, set expectations where they should be and over-deliver on those. Okay, if you overcommit, if you say, no, I can get it all done tonight, it'll be with you first thing tomorrow morning. If you do not then deliver it by tomorrow morning, your client's going to turn around and they're going to wonder why you're being dishonest with them the night before. Even if your cause was genuine, even if your thought process was completely accurate and you were convinced that you could have it done, by overpromising with an unrealistic timescale and an unrealistic workload, all you have achieved in this situation is making a client unhappy. Unhappy clients leave businesses, okay? And this is not what we want to achieve. So under commit, over deliver, okay? The reverse of what you see on the screen right now. Why? Because if you do this incorrectly, it can result in disgruntled clients, and we never want that, okay? Next up, final tip on being realistic with your commitments. Work with smaller clients to begin with, okay? Now, this is a piece of advice that we put in here for you because it will help you adapt yourself to the new industry, okay? Now, some of you may already be working in marketing, maybe paid advertising, SEO, maybe you're web developers, okay? But wherever you work in marketing, you might have a skill for this already or a trait that you can apply to this, okay? For others, working in jobs like engineering, construction, retail, okay? If you're working over there, this is going to be new for you, okay? Then what you must do is give yourself sufficient time to learn how the industry works. The easiest way to do that is by working with smaller clients who require less of a commitment from you. You don't feel as much obligation because you're not charging them huge fees. You're working with nice small clients that are easy to manage and you can keep them happy fairly easily, okay? What you're going to do here is you're going to get a feel for the industry and allow yourself to keep your initial commitments nice and low. Therefore, what are you not doing? You're not putting high pressure on yourself. What else are you not doing? You're not overcommitting, okay? So therefore, you're not becoming distracted. The final thing that you must be careful not to do not overcommit and do not underdeliver. Okay, so if you make sure that you're ticking all these boxes, okay, very simple, straightforward boxes, you can ensure that you are being completely realistic with your commitments, you're keeping your mental space nice and free, happy and clear, and you're productive when you need to be. This, in my view, as a professional business coach, is the most optimal way to start up a side business whilst you are still working full-time in a job. Okay, so that brings us to the end of topic number 2 for today. I'm going to give you another 10, 15 seconds or so to go ahead and write down any questions, send them over to me if you have any that you'd like to ask, and take down any notes. And I will be right back with you for the third and final topic of today. All right, fantastic. So hopefully now you've had a good chance to ask any questions related to topic number 2. Remember, you can also ask questions related to business marketing, anything you want to ask when it relates to the industry, okay? So feel free, fire any questions that you have at me, okay? So number 3, we're going to talk about the third and potentially one of the most important elements of setting up a side business, okay? Now, when you're doing this alongside your full-time income, you must be very, very certain of what your earnings need to be and what they actually are, okay? So first of all, everybody has a number that they would leave their 9 to 5 for. Understand what yours is, okay? Now I say that because we need to understand exactly what we need to earn in order to leave our full-time job. Of course, the overarching goal here, if we're looking to set up a part-time digital agency on the side, okay, the only reason for doing this is because we're looking to leave our full-time job eventually. Therefore, freeing up more time for us, we're working less hours and we'll be able to put more into the digital agency, okay? So everybody has a number that they would leave their 9 to 5 for. Once again, your 9 to 5 doesn't necessarily have to be 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It can explain your day job. It can be your night work. It can be whatever you do that you must do alongside your digital agency at the moment to make sure that you're earning enough income, okay? Now, understand what your number is. It could be $1,000, it could be $2,000, it could be $3,000 a month, okay? Whatever it is, it could be higher, it could be lower. But you need to understand what this number is. Why? Because once you have it visualized, once you have it written down, you can put together a plan to then achieve said number. If you don't understand exactly how much money you need to be earning and how you're going to earn it, then that's going to make life inevitably more difficult for you to ever make the decision to leave your day job, okay? So most people would look to do this based on their actual necessities. So let's just say that somebody is working a full-time engineering job and they're earning $3,000 a month. Okay, now that's a nice wage for them. They don't actually need the whole $3,000 a month. So what they work out is that actually they need $2,000 a month to survive. Therefore, their digital agency would need to earn them at least £2,000 per calendar month before they could look at leaving their engineering role with their other job. Okay, so contextually figure out what yours is. It could be half of that, it could be double that. Okay, but figure out exactly what it is for you need for living a comfortable life. Okay. Next, calculate a route to your earnings goal from your experience and education so far. Okay. So we discussed experience and education because this allows us to understand the numbers and metrics that we need to use to build a part-time digital agency. Okay. You can create a route to your earnings based on the services that you offer. Okay. So I'm going to take the example that you need to earn £2,000 per calendar month. Now, let's say that you offer a paid advertising service and you charge this at £200 per calendar month. Okay. In order to reach your £2,000 per calendar month goal, you will need to sell 10 of your monthly £200 per calendar month packages with relation to paid advertising. It's simple maths. Divide the total number that you need by the amount of services that you can offer. Therefore, you will have exactly the number of services you need to sell on a monthly basis to reach your income goal. Okay, so calculate a route to your earnings goal from your experience and education thus far. Okay, next up, actively divert funds to your cash reserves, allowing for early security. Okay, so early security is so important when it comes to building a part-time business. You need to make sure that you have some money banked so that you have something to fall back on should you ever need it. Okay, now when we're looking at this specifically, we need to make sure that we have sufficient money in the bank, okay, because there are essentially two components you need to leave your day job and move on to full-time on a side business of yours. Okay, number one is sufficient cash reserves to fall back on should you need it, and number two is sufficient monthly income to support you going forwards. Okay, so without one or the other, you can't realistically seek to leave your day job yet. So the earlier you divert funds to your cash reserves, the faster they build, and therefore the faster you can start working on your dream business. Okay, now that's completely up to you how quickly you do it. I would advise putting as much as you can into those cash reserves as quickly as you can. Okay, so generally the rule of thumb is to have 6 months worth of salary in the bank before you look to make any big investments or you look to make a major life decision. Okay, 6 months, because that means that essentially you could switch everything off, and for 6 whole months you would be completely fine. You could keep the lights on in your house, you could put food on the table. Okay, now fourth and final point for today, forecast your ongoing maintenance costs, including that of your lead generation. Okay, so lead generation is one component of marketing and advertising. It's something that you need to generate new leads. New leads are needed for new clients. Okay, so essentially the theory goes lead, prospect, client. Lead is when you've just found somebody that you would like to contact. Prospect is somebody who's moderately interested in working with your business, and client is somebody who is paying your business in exchange for a service or product. Okay, so forecast your ongoing maintenance costs, including lead generation. Going forwards, this is going to really, really help you. Okay, because if you understand what your earnings goal is, because you calculated that route, you can then deduct anything that you're going to spend on a monthly basis. So let's say your lead generation is 200, your overheads are another 200. So let's just say that that's £400, but you need to take home at least £2,000 a month before tax. Okay, so then you would understand that actually I need to earn £2,400 a month before tax in order to earn exactly what I need to earn. Okay, so one more point. Okay, establish consistent patterns of signing new clients. This is a bonus sort of side tip that we have for you just to wrap up today's presentation really nicely. Okay, establish consistent patterns of signing new clients. This is your most reliable intel for considering working on your digital agency full time. Okay, if you can ensure that on a regular basis, you're picking up new clients, you're taking them into the business, you're selling your services efficiently. If you can do this through a repetitive pattern that you understand and you recognize, that is your biggest mental tool that you can use to trust yourself to continue running the business full time. Okay. Now, if I reference this more specifically, okay, many people are slightly lacking in confidence when they're looking to leave their day job and move into their business full time. Why? Because they don't know actually how they got the clients. Okay, maybe they're referrals, maybe there's people they've known in the past, maybe they just started working with them, so they're making enough money to generate a full-time income, but they're not sure at all how to get any more clients. Now, this is why it's important that you establish a consistent lead generation method, because you can turn the tap on, you can bring more leads in. You turn the tap off when you're full, you turn it back on again when you need to. Okay, but this must be reliable, it must be consistent. If you have this tool in your arsenal, you will feel much better about working on your digital agency full time. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's presentation. To recap with you now, number one, Set clear boundaries with clients, okay? Make sure that they know exactly what to expect and when to expect it from you. Number 2, be realistic, okay? Don't overcommit and underdeliver. Be realistic about how much time you have and what you can commit to your clients. And finally, monitor and track, okay? Make sure that you're tracking every which way possible you are with your money, with the clients that you're getting in, with the leads that you're generating. The more data you have, you can look historically and say, well, look, this worked and this didn't. So going forward, let's work with what has worked in the past. All right. So I would now love to get onto your questions and answer any that you may have for me. Thank you very much indeed, as always, for attending. It was wonderful to see some familiar faces and those new names as well. Really, really pleasure to meet you. Okay, so we are now looking at the questions that you have in for us. Okay, so I have just had a couple through, so let me go and grab these now. Okay, perfect. So really good question here. Question number 1, do clients mind meeting in the evening or weekends? Okay, now without the want to give a blanket statement, okay, because of course every client is different and you need to understand how they like to operate. But the most simple answer I can give you is that this fully depends on the client, okay? If they're unhappy meeting in these hours, consider other forms of communication. If you want to have a meeting, it's going to have to be an evening or weekend if you work full time, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, okay? But in this case, it's not the end of the world. You can encourage other forms of communication. You can email, you can WhatsApp, you can send voice memos, you can do whatever you need to do in order to make sure that that client is happy enough with the contact that they're getting, okay? So hopefully that helps. Fantastic question. Thank you very much indeed for asking, as always. So let me just go and grab the other question that I have here. All right, excellent. Good, really, really, really good one here. Okay, so what do I do if a client tries contacting me during my 9 to 5 hours? Okay, so simple answer here. It's okay to respond during a significant break from your 9 to 5, but be careful not to allow it to divert your focus from the task in hand. Okay, so there's nothing to say that you specifically can't communicate with one of your clients whilst you're at work, okay? But what you do need to make sure of is that you're not dropping your project or, you know, sort of sneaking out the office almost to give this client a call, because that is when things can begin to get difficult and a little bit tricky with your current employer. Okay, so make sure that when you do respond to these clients, it's being done in the break, and that, you know, you're saving the emails for the train ride home or the bus ride home, or you're waiting until you get back to your home office. Okay, so another fantastic question. Thank you so much for asking, and hopefully that answers it with full clarity. All right, so I'm just gonna have a quick check and see that we don't have any more questions in for today. Fabulous. Okay, well, I think that is it. So a very, very, very big thank you for joining us today on the iOB business webinar. And I really very much look forward to hopefully seeing you again on the next iOB business webinar in the near future. Have a fantastic week. Take care and bye for now.